Hey guys, we're a podcast for the Outcasts, and this is Merhawi Minassi.
And I'm Tori, Rehakova.
And we'll be talking about the present moment and how we obviously try to neglect what we have around us, and basically kind of dive deep inside the idea of like why we tend to naturally just look for other options or seek for better. You know, like people tend to never water their own grass, and like that's a problem. From one of my experiences, I'll give you a business example. You always tend to have a little moment in business, like you tend to start one business and you obviously after a couple months you tend to like fall off, and you know, like you don't push, and you tend to like kind of get sick of your first business venture, and then all of a sudden you start to look for different avenues of making money and so on. You tend to get into a cycle of like looking for better, even though you haven't put all your effort in detail into like one thing, like one kind of like business, or like, you know, for example, if you try to master Photoshop, I'm guarantee you that you could make good amount of money from going on Fiverr, being a freelancer, for you know, or if you start your own like e-com store and like you tend to break even or even like go negative, and you start to spend like thousands of dollars, and you're like, why isn't it working? Then all of a sudden you move into affiliate marketing, you know. But,
and then it's like a cycle of I want more.
yeah, it's I want more, and like you're looking for other solutions, yet you haven't like tried mastering what you have in front of you, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
you know, oh, sorry for interrupting.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
funny that we're actually talking about this.
yeah,
Like, one thing I struggle with as well, and I think most of us do,
yeah,
is the fact that, like you said, we can't just focus on one thing. Like, once you see outcomes of what you do, like a business or whatever, your ego naturally wants to have more.
yeah,
And, you know, we all forget to just be present. And I think this goes with a lot more than just business.
oh yeah.
It's
You can
like
apply,
with everything in life.
you can apply it to almost everything. Like for example, you can apply it to your faith. Like you can apply it to like moving from different churches. You can apply it to trying to play for one team to another, like soccer wise or basketball. And even when it comes to hobbies, you try to stick to one hobby, then you like somehow feel like you're not mastering it, and all of a sudden you go from playing piano to like the saxophone. It's like it's so it's so random, you know.
Yeah.
You bounce from one thing to another. Yeah. Especially and
That goes with hose as well. If you
Oh,
have
of
hose, you
course.
bounce from one to another. But that's another topic.
yeah, that's a whole
That's for
different
the
can of
next.
worms.
That's the next episode.
Yeah. No, but that's so true though. Like that's where the predicament kind of happens, because
Predicament.
yeah, the predicament. Shout out to Chang.
Shout out to Jane.
No, but seriously though, like, and a really good example about that, you know, you just tend to see one person and like, you know, oh, like I'm seeing someone. It's never like actually dating this person. Like, it becomes a norm to kind of hear a friend say, oh, I'm seeing someone, because I think naturally we've somewhat accepted the idea that 9 times out of 10 your friends trying to, you know, somewhat experiment, and after they've had a taste of whatever they've had, or, you know, gone on a date, have had quality time, whatever, you tend to naturally just start to find like reasons to not like it, or you test your own boundaries, like even subconsciously you test looking outside of what you
Excuse
want.
me?
It's all good.
I couldn't hold it in, guys. I'm so sorry.
It's all good.
Continue. Imagine we just kept everything.
Just kept it. No, yeah, like the grass ain't green on the other side. Like we tend to always look for, you know, like a greener grass, but we never tend to water the grass that we have right in front of us, you know. We never tend to work on what we really have in front of us. Even if it may not seem perfect, we naturally try to fixate to another solution or the better. You know, it's always, there is always going to be a better like option.
Yeah, you know, I was gonna say, like, especially in our world right now, social media is huge, and I think you always tend to go on social media and compare yourself to everyone else on social media, and you start to think that your own grass is not enough. Like, oh, I saw my neighbor and his grass has like a heap of flowers, just like, you know, just as a depiction. Is that a right word?
Yeah, no, like as you're,
you know, like imagine yourself, like you're in your own little world, your front yard, for example, yeah.
Yeah.
And you just have the perfect view of all your neighbors and you just see them doing so good, and you start to get in a loop of like never believing in your own self and just thinking you always gotta impress them instead of impressing your own self. And you fall in a hole where everyone else, you're copying everyone else, which makes your own grass dead. Like, how are you trying to please everyone else, seeing that a grass is better on the other side, but your own grass is dead? Like, it's just, there's nothing there. You're not watering the seed inside of you that God put in there. I'm going to mention God a lot, by the way, because...
Of course, yeah. So we have to like bring it back to that as well, because it's true. And the thing is, like, we tend to never even seek guidance from God as well. But sometimes that's what you need. You need to seek some sort of guidance from God, you know, like especially when it comes to wanting to settle down for what you have. Like that's the end goal. Like you tend to look for something else outside because you want to eventually settle down with whatever it is, you know, settle down with a certain goal, a certain person, job, love, anything it is. But the whole objective is to settle down. So like definitely ask God for guidance, and you know, he will give you a clear sign, especially when it comes to trying to settle and looking for a greener grass. You know, I'll give you a good example with like the young men of our generation. You know,
boys,
like the boys,
men, boys.
You can say boys.
Specifically, boys. Little boys.
Especially when it comes to women. But again, like you can say it's a very taboo topic where like we're going.
But there's girls out there too.
Yeah, boys
you know?
and girls. You know?
Yeah.
Boys and girls will say we're going through a phase, but then sometimes that phase can be detrimental to your growth, and to settling down, and to actually finding. Because keep in mind, the more you go through this so-called phase, you're gonna ruin your chances of actually trying to settle down, and you're going to tend to increase your likelihood of always finding something that is greener.
That's a good one.
Like naturally. You have all these different flavors in front of you.
Yeah.
And it's like...
You want a taste of everything.
And sometimes you try to settle for one. And keep in mind, like, people in relationships as well, a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
Where so-called couples wanting a taste of, you know, everything on the low. They'll tend to obviously want a taste of it, but they know that they're taken. A lot of people in our generation, even when taken, will always look for the greener grass. It's like we've changed the way that we've actually seen or even treated people with loyalty, like, you know.
We've become very greedy in a sense.
Yeah, no, it's greed. It comes down to greed and always wanting more, you know. And you can talk about the aspect of, you know, another really good example, the rich. You know, the rich will always want to be richer. Or like, it's like, even if you want to talk about the positive outcome of, you know, the grass is greener. Like, you know, like you work on yourself and you improve, like you hit another level. All of a sudden, you have another level to hit. Like you always have levels to hit with your own self-improvement. The grass will be greener in good circumstances like that. But, you know, you can talk about the positive and the negative outcomes of always looking for the greener grass.
Let's also talk about seasons, right? In every season, your grass is not going to be green. So in saying that, sometimes it takes a while for your own grass to become green. You just got to water it, and there's a season and time for everything in your life. And that's why it's so important that we can't just keep looking at everyone else, because you know, you're well aware that you're not doing what's best for you. You're doing what looks like best for you. I think our generation is obsessed with making yourself look like you're someone rather than being someone that you're supposed to be. Does that make sense, or am I just waffling?
No, of course. Like, for example, I'll give you a really good example, and this comes down to the psychology of how we think. So I've made my money, I decide to buy a Lamborghini Huracan, for example. Okay. 9 times out of 10, I am not buying the Lamborghini Huracan because I truly like the car. Like deep down, the desired reason why I'm buying that car is because nobody else has that car. Therefore, you see it as a status. It's like you have the car that barely anybody can drive and can see once in a while. So it's the idea of being portrayed at a higher status. If everybody was driving a Huracan, just imagine a whole car lot full of Huracans, you know, V10 engine, powerful engine, sounds good, sounds amazing. You're not going to get that car even if it costed you a price tag of 100K, you wouldn't fathom the idea of buying a car like that because too many people have that car. It's always about wanting to find the better and wanting to find what most people don't have.
Yeah, like being different.
It's always being different, like
Yeah.
literally being different and always wanting better, no matter what it is, you know, like,
Yeah.
and that comes back to the idea of always wanting a partner that you can see with you that nobody really has. Like you always look for the most optimal,
Would you say that's the psychology of men? Because I saw a TikTok where it explained exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Where men, it's not about how expensive a thing is.
Yeah.
It's about status and like
It's status.
how it makes you look as a man.
Yeah,
Because you guys like to be powerful and have that dominance. Is that a train?
Helicopter.
Helicopter.
It's the helicopter.
Back to what we were saying though, because I know some women are the same. Like personally, there's times where I fall into the temptation and loophole of like, I gotta look better than everyone else, I gotta look different, I gotta stand out. What we forget is the fact that each individual on this planet is different to the next person. Like nobody's gonna be the same as you. Like they might copy your drip and they might copy the car you have and live a lifestyle, try to live a lifestyle that you have. But what you have inside is never gonna be copied because God created you in your own special way. So everyone in their own special way is different already. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly, yeah.
And like whilst we're trying to have this race where we're outdoing each other and doing something different, we forget that from the root of our own beings, we're all different already. Yeah, I think it just all intertwines to coming back to like, you have to remember each and one of you that you're so unique, and our society is so good at making you forget about the uniqueness that you already have and were born with. We do upgrade ourselves every day because we grow every day as people, even if it's a small thing. Like, for example, I learned that Melbourne has hook turns. If you drive, you know what this is. I never knew this was a thing. Like, a small thing like that, I just learned that, you know, like a month ago. And then every day you just learn something new.
It's never about pleasing other people at the end of the day. Like when you're looking at stuff to improve, never see it as a way to impress somebody else. It comes down to the idea of actually giving yourself self-love and self-care. You want to care and treat yourself and make sure that the thing that you are pursuing is not going to be detrimental to your health or the people around you, especially when you're looking for, you know, a certain partner or looking for better in every avenue of life, even if it's in sport, business, like relationship, friends, even, you know, friendship circles. Yeah, like you can't have that mentality of the grass is always greener, because that's always going to, no matter what, it will bite you in the back, because 9 times out of 10, you will never have the true happiness that actually comes with actually looking for an alternative with what you have in front of you, because you're going to neglect what you have in front of you without realizing it. Most of the time, the best option to actually stick with and to kind of grow and actually water, instead of looking for a different outcome. What's in front of you is right there in the present moment. You can work with that and you can help that grow, and you can be authentic with it, and you can actually, you know, make something out of it and actually improve that thing, that club, that person, that relationship, that spiritual relationship, you know, in life, of course, but you continually grow that and improve. The grass is never greener on the other side, in my opinion, because, you know, just from so much experiences, you tend to always neglect, even once you think that you found that greener side, you start to look for another greener side. Like, you tend to look at, it's like levels to this, you know.
There's
like,
levels to the shit.
Literally levels to it, yeah. Like, that's one thing about it. Like, you'll always, it's like, oh, I found something, and like all of a sudden, a couple months later, you're like, oh. Like, I think naturally, you got to realize that we have infinite amount of opportunities on this earth.
Yeah.
So, no matter what, you will never be satisfied with what you have unless you work on it and grow with it. Because naturally, the more effort you put onto something, no matter what it is, the more effort you put into it, you'll gravitate with actually being content with what you have. It's when you put a small amount of effort, you tend to look for something else around you. It's like the idea of putting work into what you have right now. That's what you need to focus on, you know, putting work within what you have and being grateful for it.
Because when you're not watering your own seed, I look at it as like a seed inside of you.
Yeah.
We're like plants, but human form, obviously. You're watering everyone else's grass and you forget about yourself, like I was saying earlier. And it's so important to spend time with yourself and really like date yourself. I always tell my homegirls and people around me, you gotta date yourself. Always put you first. Because like I said, there's a season for everything in your life. With that being said, if your grass isn't green in April, doesn't mean that it's not going to become green in 2 months' time. You just got to put in the work. Our generation is very based on quickly give it to me now, I want it now.
Yeah, exactly.
Fast money, you know, everything has to be quick because we've become really lazy. And it's good in some perspective, but it's like people really forget what hustle is and what working hard for something is. People expect, you know, oh, I'm going to start a podcast tomorrow. And they expect by 2 months' time they're going to have all these followers and like everyone's going to be hyping them up. It doesn't work like that. You got to stay consistent, water your own grass, focus on what's on your plate and really think to yourself, this might even take 5 years. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Because maybe it's not the time for you yet because God knows his timing. You know, you can trust God with anything. If you're not religious, that's okay. We don't judge here. You have your own beliefs. But this is what I personally believe. If God gives you something that you're not ready for, you're going to ruin it. Blessings can become curses if it's not at the right time.
Like an omen.
Yeah.
Like an omen, you know, an omen can be good or bad. But, you know, like, and sometimes it can be a blessing in disguise as well. Keep in mind, like, it's to protect you. And, you know, it can be a harsh reality, but it's for the better because the future will give you a lot more promising results.
This is why it's good to be in the present.
Yeah.
Because whilst you're over here too worried about your future as well, that's another side thing. If you're a hustler and you work hard, we tend to think a lot about our future, right? And all the goals that we have for the future. It's really important to stay present and just keep watering your grass in the present and enjoy life's beautiful, you know, just things that happen around you. You might have a lazy day, you might feel like shit, and that's okay. Tell yourself, today I'll be lazy, I'm not gonna do anything, I'm gonna give myself time to rest, because your mind needs rest as well, right? And then tomorrow, I'm gonna do this, and that. But just enjoy being. And I'm sure everyone's heard of this, but nobody's actually put that discipline card onto, I'm gonna focus on just being present. Until you make it a hobby and it becomes discipline. You know? To be present. And that comes back to us saying, water your own grass. Yeah,
and like, always be grateful for what you have in the moment, the present time.
That's the main,
Be grateful while you have it, because, you know, that's...
count your blessings.
Yeah, always count your blessings. Otherwise, especially if you're looking out elsewhere, it might be an omen and you might actually regret it. Or you may fall back a couple steps behind, just looking out for a better grass, of course. But like, always stick to what you have right now and you will definitely grow with it, It's always key to water your own grass before anything else, you know. And by your own grass, it's whatever that you're focusing on, you know. To bring it back into context, you know, church, your soccer, footy club, relationship, anything that you are working on, business, like work, anything that you have in mind that you are walking towards. Family as well, you know. Keep in mind, with family, you can talk about moving on to different people. Be grateful for the moment and what you have, you know.
And your faith as well.
The faith, exactly.
Faith is a big thing.
Yeah, no, the faith is a very big thing. When we're talking about faith as well, like, the Bible has probably one of the best examples about actually staying consistent and sticking with what you have, especially. If the Bible talks about the mustard seed.
The Bible has all the answers for you, if you're a Christian or if you're,
And
you know.
surprisingly, even if you're not Christian, you'll realize that a lot of the teachings in the Bible comes down to root solutions that we go through in like everyday to day life. We're talking about the grass is green on the other side. Like, all right, so on Matthew 13, it talks about the mustard seed, and the mustard seed has 4 different paths of actually growing on. You have the path which has no soil, the rocky ground which has little soil, and the thorny path, and the good soil. The good soil is where we should all focus on, because that's the one that will actually grow if we focus and seed and put the seed and actually take time with growing it. Instead, we naturally tend to look at the other parts, and those parts tend to always bring us a step back to the Bible.
Amen.
The path with no soil, you plant your seed's not going to grow, because we know that. And the thing is, the good soil is always the hardest path to stick to, and not many people like to stay on the good soil. And that comes down to, keep in mind, like, to bring it back to the purpose of what that parable is talking about. The mustard seed is the word, and the different paths are your heart. If you obviously place the word on a rocky path, which means that you may not hold the word for too long, it won't grow. Like, you may listen to the word and it will go out the thorny path. You may plant the seed, which is the word, and then all of a sudden you may take in the word, and then all of a sudden you may miscontext it, or you may lose the ability of actually reciting what it means, or you may reword it a certain way, or you may not understand the actual word. But that's what I mean. Like, you place the seed in the good soil, and that's the hardest path to always stick to, because the good soil is where the seed will grow, and if you stick to it and you water it, and that's the key thing, to continue to water that seed in the good soil where your heart is right, then the word will grow naturally, and by growing you will keep the word within you. So to bring it back to the grass is green on the other side, if you stick to your so-called club, your relationship, anything that you have that you may leave for the sake of looking for a better, then 9 times out of 10 you're going to kind of forget the reasons of why you are doing it in the first place, because what you have in front of you is always going to be the best option, but you haven't stuck with it and being consistent with actually growing and sticking to that so-called seed, sticking to that partner, sticking to that person. Like, that's literally why we are never grateful for actually sticking with whatever it is, because we look for a different avenue. And the hardest thing is to always stick to what we have. Make sure to always be consistent and persistent with actually sticking to what you have and growing it, because that will flourish more than what you look for outside of what you have right now.
I had another thing in my head while you were talking about the mustard seed.
Yeah.
It doesn't relate to the Bible's analogy of the seed, but I just had a thought in my head when you were saying put it in good soil, the seed.
Yeah.
And there's other parts. There's the rocky path, and
you have the path, which is no soil, rocky ground, which is the little soil, and the thorny path, and then good soil. Yeah.
Okay, so the way I just pictured it in my head, personally, right? Everyone has their positive and negative side. There's a seed in you that needs caring.
Yeah.
You need to water it.
Yeah.
If you decide to water it while you're walking on a rocky road, which is your negative thoughts and being negative about yourself, you will make that seed, you'll destroy the seed, and you'll become even more negative, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Because if you were to choose...
Because the environment is not right.
Yeah, the environment is not right. Yeah. And if you're negative towards yourself and the seed within you that's trying to grow, because you decide to walk on the rocky pathway, it's going to destroy you in the long run.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of guilt. There's going to be a lot of things within your mental, your physical, your emotional, your spiritual, that are just not going to work out, because that's not where you're supposed to be. But if you actually water the seed in good soil and you're just like surrounded in a positive environment that brings you happy vibes, good energy, your seed's going to grow roots and it's going to flourish.
Exactly, yeah. I agree.
That doesn't hit as hard as I thought it would in my head. But I think the people that get it. Do you know where I'm getting at now? Like, does that make more sense?
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, I'm glad that you guys are tuning in and hopefully enjoying our podcast and podcast for the Outcast. And just to bring it back to the main topic, we talked about the grass is green on the other side being the can of worms, and we know it's not, and we've explained the reasons why, and we've brought it into another aspect within faith. Of course, we talked about watering your own grass, which is key, and being in the moment, being present, being grateful for it, which is always key to sticking with what you have. But I hope you guys enjoy our first podcast.
Yeah, I was about to say, keep in mind this is our first episode. We'll call them episodes.
First episodes.
So bear with us. We're still trying to figure this thing out, but we have a lot of passion doing this.
Yeah,
I know.
of course.
Personally, I know Merhawi as well. We're not doing this for, as much as we're doing this for us, we're mainly doing it for the community and for you guys. That's why it's called Podcast for the Outcast. And we're just hoping that even if it touches one person, that's our job done. So we're here for each other. Yeah. We're here to learn from each other, grow together, and just spread good vibes.
Thank you for tuning in to us, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Thank you guys. We'll see you later.